Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to This or That, a series where I bring you along with me while I pit some of my decks against some of my other decks and I pair them up and I try to make a decision which one's gonna stay and which one's gonna go. So if you have been watching my channel, then you will know that I have been rolling out polls to ask you guys which is your favorite of a set of pairs of decks that I currently have in my collection. Now, I originally started this because I thought it'd be really fun just to get some feedback from which deck was your favorite of the two that I'm sort of pitting head to head. And I was pretty surprised when there were some really clear winners in some of these polls and not so clear winners in others. I'm just going to be sharing 5 of those pairs today because I wanted to keep this video manageable, but we're just going to basically share the first 5 that I did polls on. Now, if you want to make sure that you are participating, then make sure that you keep an eye out for those polls on the community tab on my channel because I will surely be doing more. At the time I'm filming this, I've only got a few up, but this video isn't going up on my channel for a week and a half or so. So you will probably have missed some of the polls if you haven't seen them yet. But keep an eye out because I think I may continue to do this when I have a new deck come into my collection or I have 2 decks that kind of are in the similar niche, that sort of thing. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys throughout this video the poll results as of the day that I'm filming this. So I will have a screenshot of those. I will share that on the screen for you so that you can see. But we're going to start off with my first pairing, and that is going to be the Everyday Witch Tarot versus the Wizard's Tarot. Now, before I get into my thoughts on these 2 decks, let me just pop up the poll result on the screen right now. Oh my gosh, so this was a clear winner for the Everyday Witch Tarot. I'm going to share some of my thoughts and ultimately make a decision like on the spot with you guys. But I think it's maybe not always the fairest comparison because the Everyday Witch has been out in the community for a long, long time. Now, the Wizard's Tarot was created by Barbara Moore, one of my favorite deck creators, and one of the things that makes this pairing or this head-to-head, I guess, decision so difficult for me is that this copy of the Wizard's Tarot was sent to me by Barbara Moore, and she signed the guidebook to me, which I thought was really super sweet. That being said, in all honesty, I really haven't been reaching for the Wizard's Tarot. On the other hand, can we just talk for a second about this bag match to this deck? Just a second. Oh, that's going to hurt my heart if I let this one go. I love the backings of the Wizard's Tarot. I also edged it in colors that match the bag and match the backings. It's a really, really beautiful deck. I haven't really found myself called to reach for this one. And I think it's because when I want to reach for a deck like this, I have been tending to reach for the Everyday Witch Tarot. So there's probably not a lot of suspense in my decision. I am 90% sure I'm going to keep the Everyday Witch, but let's just take a peek. This artwork is really beautiful. And this does have a very like wizarding school kind of vibe. I do think I love that card. Oh, so beautiful, Dancing with Death. These are really beautifully illustrated. There are a few cards in here that I had some quibbles with. That's a great 4 of Cups. This 3 of Wands is an example. I don't feel 3 of Wands in this card the way that I see the 3 of Wands. And really, when we talk about like getting along with the deck, it's that sort of thing, right? It's like, do we see our interpretation of the card in that image? Because there are so many different ways. Oh, I love this chariot too. It is really pretty. But this one bugs me. I don't like the way that the crown is kind of smushed on his head. It just feels out of place there in a way. Like this card would have been better without it. Almost like it's trying too hard to put that Rider-Waite-Smith element in there. But yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful deck. I love the cup suit in this deck. I love the lotuses that show up throughout it. But to be completely honest, I have not once thought, wow, I'm going to get out the Wizard's Tarot today. And to me, that's one of the defining things that determines whether or not a deck is meant to stay in my collection. Now, by contrast, the Everyday Witch, I have not only 1, but 2 copies of. And I guess in this way, it's kind of a semi-fair comparison because this little mini version of the Everyday Witch, which is so freaking adorable, was actually sent to me by Deborah Blake, the creator of the Everyday Witch Tarot. So I guess in that way, they are kind of evenly matched. But my full-size version of the Everyday Witch Tarot was one that I brought in myself. I keep this little mini in my purse. It's just the perfect mini deck. I think it's the only deck I have that's quite this small, and it's perfect for that. But my full size has seen, gosh, just a lot of love. I edged the deck in a matching sort of denim-y blue color that's already got lots of wear because I use this deck so much. I find this artwork just talks right to me. I don't know what it is. It's also, I noticed just looking at it now, way less glossy than the Wizard's Tarot. Like when we look at the difference, this has that sort of classic sheen, but this is like a high gloss. And that actually all by itself, whether it sounds shallow or not, tends to be a reason why I don't reach for decks, is if they are glossy like that. I just find that I tend not to reach for them. So I really, really love this deck. I've used it a lot. I'd be curious to hear from anybody in the comments section. Where did you first encounter this deck if you have it? What was your first like main exposure to it, or the main influence that caused you to want to go get it? For me, it was a video by the infamous Imogen Walters, who I missed terribly on YouTube, but she did the most adorable video walkthrough of this deck, and I still remember that she kept calling the little black cat in all of the cards Smudge, which was super adorable. I just really, really enjoy this deck. It feels like a classic to me, and one that I don't imagine myself being able to part with, which was probably the main reason I managed to let go of the box. Also, I really love this cute Garden Witch fabric that I have my bag in. So yeah, this one I think is clear. I think it is time for me to let the Wizard's Tarot go. So going head to head next is going to be the Tarot of a Hidden Realm, another Barbara Moore deck, and the Mystic Faerie Tarot. Now these, oh my gosh, okay, so here's another one where I don't have the box anymore for the Mystic Faerie Tarot, and this is a artwork by Julia Jeffrey. The guidebook is written by Barbara Moore. I do still have this box. The box usually lives on my shelf. I don't know why I have the box in the way for both of these both of these parts of the video, but anyways. Okay, so this one I'm a little more torn on. So before I get into my thoughts, let me pop up the poll so you guys can see how you all voted. So 74%, at the time I'm like looking at my phone, hopefully it doesn't change too much before I screenshot it, but the vast majority of you, so about 74% were Tarot of a Hidden Realm, and only 26% or so were the Mystic Faerie Tarot. So I have some thoughts. So first of all, the Mystic Faerie Tarot is a deck that I feel like I've kept in my collection for a long time for sentimental value, because I have had, this guidebook is actually from one of the original printings of the deck. Let's see, let's actually just check. And this was artwork by Linda Ravenscroft, and then the deck guidebook Barbara Moore. So this is the first printing from 2007. This is the first edition that I have. So I've had the deck since at least then. So it's been in my collection a long time. And I actually had the original bordered version. And early in my YouTube journey, I heard from someone lovely who offered to trade me the borderless, the newer borderless, much more glossy, you can see, version of this deck for the bordered version of this deck. It's kind of funny because when I saw the poll, I was like, oh yeah, I'm probably going to pick Journey into the Hidden Realm, but I really don't know, because this one is really super sweet. It's lovely. It's gentle. The problem is I haven't wanted to reach for this since like 2009. So like, this is a long time. One of the things that I think is so special about this deck, and my copy is edged in a soft yellow to match the backings. One of the things that I think is so special about this is the way that it's designed. So in this deck, the minor arcana, each court, oh my gosh, I can't talk. Each suit tells a little story. So the Pentacle suit tells a story. The Sword suit tells a little story. The Wand suit tells a little story. And I found that really helpful for just getting to know the energies of the different suits and like learning a bit. A narrative is a great way to get to know the tarot. And so this was a really lovely way to look at it. And I love the soft colors. I really love how it looks borderless. I really didn't like the original borders. That deck just seems so out of place. Like, look at this. Here's the deck, and then you just have, boom, this card and the star with the blue backing, and then the Chariot with that backing, and almost all the rest, the Moon, yeah. Funny thing is I think that it's the minors that charmed me in this deck much more than the majors, because the majors all feel like they're just sort of figures in the garden. Let's see if I can find a couple examples. We're just into the minors. Yeah, so here's the Fool. We have this character. I don't like the super gloss. I've noticed that that's a thing too. The super gloss is definitely an issue. Here's the Star. So they're figures, Justice. They're kind of close up, but they're, I don't know, they just feel like, I don't know. Now both decks obviously have a fairy vibe to them, but this has a very soft touch, a very gentle voice, and to be honest, like it's in one of Peggy's very first Peggy bags that she ever made was for this deck. I've had it a long time. I never ever reach for it. I've almost decluttered it multiple times. And then we have the Journey into the Hidden Realm, Barbara Moore, art by Julia Jeffries. Now this copy of the deck is from 2018. Again, this is the first edition, 4th printing. So I was not right on the ball with this deck by any stretch. Now I have a couple minor beefs with this deck. The first beef I have with this deck is my own dang modification, which is a darn shame. But I had intended, this was the first metallic edging I tried to do on a deck, and I wanted to have it be this color, and it ended up being this like kind of bronzy, coppery color, I guess, and I did not do a stellar job. I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, so there was a lot of ink bleed onto the front of the cards. Here's a good example right here. You can kind of see how much of the ink is kind of on that bottom edge. I made a bit of a mess of it, to be completely honest. Now, the guidebook is really powerfully done with this deck. Look at the Hedgehog and the Ace of Pentacles. But I have not bonded with it. As beautiful as it is, I just haven't really found myself wanting to reach for it for anything. When it comes to Fae decks, this is very wild and this is very fairy, but I tend to go right to my Tarot of the She when I want a fairy sort of feel. And you know, the more that I look at this, the more I'm like, it is lovely. And one of the special things about this deck that I think sets it apart from other decks is the way that the guidebook is written like a narrative. So it's written like you're in the story. So for example, in the 6 of Cups, the salty spray from the crashing waves rain down on her head. Gentle currents caress her body as she relaxes into the bay. I mean, it's written to take you right into the scene, and I think that's really, really beautiful. But again, the issue here is that I really don't reach for it. Really cool deck. Look, here's another mess, a mess of an edging job. Look at that. Oh boy, like that is just, it's a mess. Sometimes doing a bit of a bad mod on a deck can be a thing that means that I just don't get along with it. But I've moved this deck from bag to bag. It just never really felt like a part of my collection. As cool as I think it is, and I have worked with it, and I had some really great profound readings with it when I first got it, but in no way, shape, or form have I felt, I really am not a fan of it. I mean, it's perfect for the Magician, I just don't really like the image. It's a very intimate close-up deck, but I don't feel like I've gotten to know these characters or bonded with them in any particular way. If anything, I feel like I'm more bonded to the characters in the Mystic Fairy Tarot than I am to this one. So I think I'm going to set both of these aside for a second, but I have a feeling I may be ready to let both of these decks leave my collection. That may be what's about to happen. Gosh, let me take another look at this. You know what I think I need to do? Let me just do a 3-card and see how my intuition kind of feels about them. Yeah, I don't really feel much looking at this deck either. Even though it should be a sentimental value deck because I've had it for so long. I think right now I'm going to say I'm probably willing to let both of these go. So I'm going to set them both over here in the to-go pile for now, and we'll see how I do through the rest of this video. But I think right now that's definitely the direction that I am leaning. So I'm going to leave it there for the time being. Whew, okay, that was kind of painful. Okay, so our next matchup is the Aquarian Tarot in a tin and the Morgan Greer Tarot in a tin. Oh boy. Okay, let me throw up the poll so you guys can see how the voting went. So this one was another one where there was a clear winner. And the funny thing is that I actually got the Aquarian Tarot in a tin first. Now, I should say I'm a huge fan of tinned decks. I just find them to be really a fun size. They're a comfortable size to hold. Here's my thing with the Aquarian Tarot. I do find that in general, I tend to be less drawn to work with decks that have these softer, more muted color palettes. I don't know what it is, but it feels washed out. It is not. This artwork is beautiful. It's not washed out. It's how it's meant to look. But it feels cool and crisp to me in a way that I don't particularly like. I can definitely look at the artwork and go, wow, that's like objectively really beautiful. But I also, my hangman was upside down. That's kind of funny. I also feel like it just feels too far away, too like emotionally distant, a little too cold. And so I have read with it and I've gotten good readings from it. It's a great classic deck. And that's the thing, is these are both classics. So I felt like it was kind of fair to pit them against each other, because when I'm going to reach for like a deck like this in a tin, it's not my Rider-Waite-Smith Centennial, I was like, which one am I more likely to reach for? And I really think it's this Morgan Greer. The cardstock feels different between the two. This one feels smoother or waxier in a way. Oh, and I have reversals shuffled in to these decks because I have read with them with reversals. I really enjoy the vivid colors. And you know what else I enjoy? And it's kind of funny, but there's these like little specks that I think are intentional. Like you can see them in the background of this Queen of Rods. There's these speckles, like as if the deck has been aged a bit. And I mean, for a classical deck, I've always loved this Nine of Swords so much. Ugh. But I feel like for a like more classic deck, this one really speaks my speak more. I also have to admit, I have always loved these backings. I had a friend of mine that this was her primary working deck, and she gave really great readings with it. So I think there's some memories for me in that regard. I also really like this Devil card. Yeah, I think for me, it's no question. It's going to be the Morgan Greer. I mean, part of me is like, well, they're just tarots in a tin. I could just keep them both, right? Like, I don't have to get rid of anything. But I find that I enjoy my collection more when I don't hold on to things just for the sake of holding on to them. When I feel like I'm more likely to reach for the Morgan Greer if I don't feel guilty because I haven't reached for the Aquarian Tarot. And that's kind of, I think, one of the things that goes into my deciding factors is like, which one am I going to enjoy and be excited to reach for more? And it's definitely the Morgan Greer. So I'm going to put my Aquarian in the to-go pile. And let's move on to our next pairing. So our next matchup is the I Love the 80s Tarot and the Badass Baby Unicorns Tarot. And these are both by Kai of OurDailyMagic.com. I believe they have a podcast and an Etsy shop, but these two decks, same creator, both really, really fun. Before I get into my thoughts, let me share with you the poll. Now, I hope there are no changes to the poll between like when I'm sharing this with you, like when I'm filming it and when I have to go take my screenshot. But at the moment I'm filming this, when I'm looking at my phone, it is at a dead heat of 50% I Love the 80s and 50% Badass Baby Unicorns. And so I think for most people, it comes right down to aesthetics. Can we talk about the emoji bag with my I Love the 80s? I think this is probably more of a 90s thing, but that's okay. Anyway, this is such a fun deck. Hello, Golden Girls. Let's just zoom in. I think my thing with this deck is that it was the most fun to film a walkthrough of this deck, to kind of think about all of the different references, to get that sort of like a blast from the past. I mean, there are some fantastic 80s references, come on, in this deck. It is so great. And where I stumbled, you guys who watched the walkthrough chipped in. I mean, hello, Falcor for the Prince of Blades. Atreyu and Falcor. Oh my gosh, it's so good. This reminds me of Gem and the holograms. It's Yoda. I mean, it's so good. It's so much fun to look at. And And really, the associations made here, they totally make sense. That's Tang, Care Bear Stare, the Atari. I mean, this was my childhood in a deck. As fun, though, as this deck is for me to look through and appreciate the references in, the reality is this is not a deck I am going to read with. It just isn't. It's not the kind of deck I would typically reach for a reading. Sometimes these references, while they're super fun, they lock me in too much. And so I had an amazing, amazing time doing the review or the walkthrough of this deck, but not once did I feel really called to do a reading with it. I think it would read probably just fine, especially if it's your style to read with these more like fun and funky kind of decks. Strength, 4 of base, King of Cups, Alf. Oh my God. Like, it's so great. But all I can think of is like, I just keep grinning. Like, no matter what card I pull, it's like, oh my gosh, I remember that. But it's not really a useful deck to me. It becomes more of like a collector's item. And as I've talked about before, while I enjoy collecting decks because I enjoy having a variety of decks, I enjoy having a variety of decks that I work with. And I just don't work with this one. So I don't think realistically I'm probably going to end up keeping this one. Well, let's talk about the Badass Baby Unicorns Tarot. This is right up my alley. I ordered this the second I first saw it. I love the colors. I love the sass in this deck. There is swearing. There is a lot of like sass. This is another one where best bitches forever. It is adorable. To think I effing trusted you on the Ten of Swords. A lot of the little quotes are really great. And actually, at the time I'm filming this, and I think when this video goes up, there is actually a Kickstarter for a new edition of this deck with some updated art, like I kind of think of this like an emoji in a way, because there's all these like fun little maybe a meme deck, maybe. The Lovers, let me get some. It's really cute. The reality is though, whenever I've tried to work with it, I haven't had the most amazing time doing tarot readings with this deck. This Emperor totally stumped me when I first did my walkthrough. Anyways, I'm babbling, but as cute as this is, and as much as this should be right up my alley, just purely because of all this unicorn goodness, I love this moon card so much. So great. I don't ever reach for it. I really don't. And I feel like this was my mood deck. If you've seen the mood deck, it's like very much a meme deck. This is like my mood deck, but I don't read with it. I don't read with it. And I feel like there's only one other exclusively unicorn deck that I have, and we'll talk about that later. But this one just, I don't know. I want it to, it just, all the humor doesn't fully land. Like, it's super cute, but it's not me. As cute and funky and sassy and playful as it is, it's not me. So I think this is another situation where actually I think I'm okay to let both of these decks go. The Badass Baby Unicorns and the I Love the 80s. Now, I will try to remember, by the way, to have links to all of my walkthroughs where I've done them for all of these decks. I think I've done them for most of these decks. So I will have a video where I'm talking about these linked in the description box, so you can check that out. But I do think I'm probably going to let both of these go. Now we're going to have facing off the Oak, Ash, and Thorn Tarot and the Tarot Fauna deck. Before I get into my thoughts on these two amazing decks, let me share with you the poll. So at the time I'm filming this, there is an overwhelming majority of you who prefer the Oak, Ash, and Thorn over the Tarot Fauna. Now, I have to admit, can we talk about the otter bag in the Tarot Fauna? So here's the thing. I feel like I have a lot of animal decks, and I do enjoy animal decks. However, these two decks specifically seem to fit the same niche in my collection. Man. And I knew when I backed this deck, I knew it was going to make me question my enjoyment of the Tarot Fauna, and I'll explain that. But in both decks, we have one whole set of animals, so one family of animals that takes over an entire suit. So in the Oak, Ash, and Thorn, we have bunnies in the pentacles, foxes in the wands, crows in the swords, and squirrels in the, squirrels in the cups, right? Squirrels through the cups? Yeah, squirrels through the cups. I love the artwork in this deck so much. I love the way the cardstock feels. I love the way the choices that were made in the artwork. It's got this taking me right into the Woodland Creatures Homes kind of energy. There's something very, that the artwork is full of depth and richness and light, and I just, oh, it's such a pleasure every time I pick it up, and it's effortless for me to read with this deck. I also love these like little cue cards you get for the meanings, for the keywords. I love that. So that is the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. The Tarot Fauna, when I first got it, I didn't really bond with it very well, and I was about to rehome it, and then I can't remember why, but I gave it another try. And on the second try, I just fell in love with this deck. Now in this one, the suit of feathers, which is the suit of swords, are the owls. So they're the air suit. Oh, these 3 cards have like a little bit of a smush in the corner that I only recently noticed. There's like a little smush on those bottom left corners. I'm not sure why, but I only recently noticed. So I don't know. I don't know why, but anyway. The majors are mixed. There's some more feathers. I do find that this one feels, it feels, I wish I could describe it. Oh yeah, there's bears through the rocks, which are the pentacle suit. Foxes are the wand suit. There's some more bears. There's some foxes for the wand suit, which is called torches in this deck. This cardstock is really lovely. Now here's the suit that gave me pause each time I thought about rehoming this deck, and it is the shells or the cup suit, because they're otters. And as you can see by the bag, I love me some otters. I really, really do. I love river otters specifically, which is what we see in this suit. Are these river otters. I love them. I love their faces. I love the sleekness of their bodies. I love their playfulness. It just really, really works for the cup suit. But I struggle a little otherwise with the deck. And some of the ways that the cards are depicted takes a little bit more thought. It's not as effortless for me to read with this deck. When I want that sort of neutral energy, or when I want that sort of just take me to the forest kind of energy, this one really does it for me. So I do think I am ready to let the Tarot Fauna go. Yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time. So this is my decision. I'm going to let Tarot Fauna find a new home. Although I may keep this adorable, these are actually sea otters in the bag, which is so cute. There's something, who are they cuddling? I think the sea otter is actually cuddling a river otter in this bag. Okay, anyways, I may just keep the bag, but I think I'm going to rehome the deck. So I've got a couple bags that I'll be keeping. So I will be keeping the Oak, Ash, and Thorn, which, if you've seen the vlog, there was a whole fit about this bag, and I'm really, really excited about this particular bag for this deck. I love, 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 love this deck. So let's do a recap of what I'm keeping. So I am keeping the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. I am keeping the Morrigan Greer, and I am keeping my Everyday Witch. And let's take a look at what I'm letting go. So I'm going to be letting go of the Tarot Fauna. I'm going to be letting go of the Aquarian Tarot, the Badass Baby Unicorns Tarot, and the I Love the 80s Tarot, the Mystic Fairy Tarot, the Tarot of Hidden Realms. Oh my gosh, I kept hitting my camera. The Tarot of Hidden Realms. And Barbara Moore's Wizards Tarot. So I'm actually keeping 1, 2, 3? I'm keeping 3 decks. And I'm letting go of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is not how I thought this video was going to go. I literally thought it was going to be keep 1 and ditch 1 of each pair. And it's interesting that I was able to make these decisions, but I do think these are decks that I'm not going to reach for. I haven't felt myself wanting to reach for any of these really in a long, long time. And I feel like these are decks I'm probably not going to miss. Now, as per usual, when I plan to get rid of decks, here's what I do. And I recommend this to anybody who, if you don't want to make a rash decision, right? I'm going to take all of these decks and I'm going to put them in a bag and put them in my closet and probably leave them there for several months. And that is so that I can see if over the next few months I think, man, I really wish I could reach for the Aquarian Tarot, or wow, I'm really in the mood to work with the Hidden Realm. And if that doesn't happen, then I know I'm ready to let these go. So that is my plan. I do that because I have in the past hastily decluttered something and then missed it and wished that I could have it back. And I don't want to make that mistake again. So I'm going to be sitting on these for a little bit, call it a purgatory or a holding period, or, you know, before I make my final decision. But I'm pretty sure these are all going to be leaving my collection. Thank you guys so much for playing along. You're definitely going to want to be keeping an eye out because I am going to be making at least 3 more of these videos in this current run. So I've been running polls for 20 pairs. And by the time all the polls are done, I'll be doing 5 pairs per video. So we'll have at least 4 videos in this initial series of this or that. And keep an eye out because I may do another run a little bit later when I have more decks that I'm ready to pit head to head like this. But again, thank you so much for watching. Please do remember to click the like button if you enjoyed the video or you found value in it. Don't forget to check out the links for all the decks that I mentioned in the description box down below. Anything that is currently available will have a link to where you can buy it, or I will mention if it is currently out of print or hard to find. And I think that is it for now. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here and click the little bell so you're notified of my future videos. Thank you so much, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye guys!